There's an emotional carry through. It's like a full meal. Like nothing is lacking, right? There's humor, there's great drama and interest and warmth and biblical truth, and then you get something that you can take away and sing all week long. You know?
Well, I just have to say that, again, I feel like God really did put the team together. I mean, that we have similar sensibilities and that the things that I'm writing are resonating with the show and with you specifically as the creator. Again, that's just a huge blessing. I just feel like that's the Lord just brought the people together for this particular project so that because I draw a lot from what your script is, right? I read the script and it's the same. I have that feeling, this is exciting when I get the script, so I get to read it and see what's gonna happen. And it's just, one of our joys that we get to work on a Paws Tales song together.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Dave Carl, and this is my friend Eric Baesel, and we were the production team of Paws Tales. Right. We are the production team.
Currently.
We're still here.
We haven't been replaced.
And all of our work is completely overshadowed by the music that Sandy does.
So not true.
And Sandy Howell is the songwriter for Paws Tales, and we have just finished our 74th episode, and maybe 2 of those you didn't do?
One.
Yeah.
Only one.
One. So you've got to be exhausted.
Thankfully, you gave me plenty of time.
There were some
years that passed, but yes. Yeah. No, thanks for having me with you guys.
Yeah,
this is so good. We got the band back together again.
It's nice to see you face to face instead of online via Zoom or something like that.
That's right. That's
right. Be in the same room. It's
the
nice.
Real thing.
Yeah. We were all in California together, rather close proximity. We could have lunch. Mm-hmm. We moved to Texas 22 years ago.
In 2001.
And then you moved to Florida.
3 years ago. Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember the last time we were together. It was years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before the camera started rolling, a little bit about the idea of the lesson song. Dave writes a script that's 28 minutes long, and here's a point that here's a biblical truth we're trying to, and then you come along and in 3.5 minutes are able to boil it down into something that's pithy and memorable, and kids are bebopping and listening to that song, and parents are listening to that song, and that's really cool. And I've always thought, what a marvelous gift that God's given you to be able to have that ability to kind of take that nugget of truth and put it into something that somebody can put right into their heart.
I had someone ask me, so when you're working on all of this, how much time do you spend with Sandy to talk about style and make it match to the script? And I'm like, I give her a script, she asks some questions, and then the song shows up.
Dave and I just cracked up. It's not fair.
No, I'm a little miffed really about the whole thing.
Well, I want to know, Dave, how did you, when you're creating the concept for Paws Tales, how did you know that you wanted to have that element of a lesson song in it? What was that about?
Well, the very notion terrified me because I have right now displayed all of my musical ability. And I was meeting with Phil Lawler, one of the creators of Odyssey, and he said, "Oh, you guys got to do music." And I almost froze. Like, I'm already at a level of complexity. I can barely breathe. And he's like, there's people for this. I think we then had a conversation with John Campbell. Mm-hmm. And it was that, I'm trying to think back, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's how we met, was through John, yeah.
So I think I talked to John Campbell, and he's like, I know a girl.
John Campbell was the first composer that we worked with. He actually composed the score for Paws Tales, the theme music.
So remind me what a score is.
So you have in an episode, this is the music that helps bridge from, this opening scene to the next scene, or takes us to the commercial break and brings us back in from the commercial break. It is the emotional river that kind of connects things.
So romantic. I love that.
And I think that's one of the cool things about Paws Tales episodes is having that composer. So we have a composer that writes the score for each episode. So the fact that John Campbell kind of introduced us to you, that was a providential thing.
Yeah, it's been such an amazing, joyful thing to be able to work on this show. I mean, Dave, your writing is just awesome. And I just find myself even going through the scripts, just laughing, and sometimes it's, a little tear to the eye because they're just so full of fun, but also these truths of God, and it's just amazing. And for me, it's such a blessing because before working on Paws Tales, I did some other Christian writing, but I was working on cartoons, just regular cartoons, and they were fun, and they were for kids, and it was great, and I loved doing that. But then the element of adding the messages, the biblical messages, was just so special to me because I feel like, wow, now I'm able to use music and whatever gifts God has given me to actually, hopefully, reach some kids. And I just love that. I love that about the show, and I love that about working with you guys, and I love that about how songs can do that. So it's been a huge blessing to work on this with you guys.
Well, when you hear, and that was a good example, the Spell Out Your Love, there is kind of the obvious stuff that's just fun for kids.
Yeah.
And then there's the stuff for the adults. There's little jokes, and I try to do that in the writing.
You do that really well.
And I mean, you would think that we spent a lot of time collaborating on all of that, but your sensibilities are just such that it just comes together. And I'm not suggesting that, and she does it effortlessly. And I mean, it's really hard work, what I do. But when you get people who can pull the thing off, it's just so fun.
Well, what I've always wanted to know, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, I don't think you give her like instructions of like, hey, I need this to be a reggae song or anything. How do you know, okay, here's the biblical truth. Okay, Sandy, then what happens next? What do you do with that?
That's such a challenging question. I mean, sometimes there are things in the script, either little parts of the story, places that they are, that might make me think of a certain style. Maybe it feels a little more Western because they're out in the woods or something like that. Or maybe there's a character with an accent. I think there was one time, like a Jamaican accent or something. So then I kind of wanted to go that style. But any of the other ones, sometimes it's just sort of inspiration. It's just like kind of what comes along with the lyric ideas that I'm thinking of. And sometimes it's just like, hey, we haven't tried this. I wonder if this will work. So, and also one of my favorite parts is incorporating the characters in the songs. Yeah. That is so much fun. So, it's a lot more. I know it gets a lot more involved, but those are some of my favorite ones to work on. So sometimes I think about that with the style of the song and what the characters can do and what they can bring to it, with their different funny voices and their personalities.
You did a barbershop
quartet
with a Scottish scat.
No, those were two different. I think. I think those are different songs.
Okay.
Yeah, the Scottish. We got to come back to that because that was one of the funniest moments in the studio that I think I've ever had. I'll have to tell you what happened. But yes, with the barbershop quartet, I actually sang barbershop. I was in a two girls, two guys barbershop quartet in high school, and also a 4 girls barbershop quartet. Yeah, I did barbershop. So
that came naturally to you.
So that kind of came naturally. I mean, that was like the first one I had ever written, which is tricky, getting all those different parts and the different ranges for guys. But that was super fun. It was challenging but fun, really fun. And the guys that sang on it, did such a great job. They just brought a lot of life to that.
You mentioned it's really fun having kids, some of the characters kind of in the songs. Yeah. What has been surprising to you about, I know you've recorded with Susan Clausen, who's Goose. You've done that. We've had a few CJs and a few Stacys over the years, and you've recorded with some of them. What are some ideas or some of the things that come to mind when you think about working with some of these characters?
Yeah. I know it's just going to be a blast, for one thing. Susan is so talented. She's just so unbelievably talented. Yeah. All of these people that you just mentioned are really, really talented. But I've worked with Susan for so many years as Goose, and she's just a riot.
And she doesn't actually sound like that.
No, she doesn't sound like that at all.
She's not this big.
No.
And she doesn't,
Nope.
call the church, and she actually played Goose's mom and in a couple of episodes. So
Interesting
she,
fact.
she has another voice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. She will just bring inflections, or sometimes there'll be like a little musical instrumental break, and I'll just say, hey, run with it.
for it.
Do something fun in here. And she will just come up with her own little quirky things that just make it so much fun.
So these 4 new episodes, the ones that just got, I mean, this is what brought the band back together, right? It had been, 18 years since the
18,
previous
19
ones have been.
years, yeah.
How has music changed since then? I mean, how did you approach these songs? Was there a different approach that you wanted to take to this music? Maybe stylistically, because music had changed in that time?
Yeah, a little bit. A couple of the songs I tried to make maybe slightly more pop. There's one that we kind of tried to emulate a little bit after one of the Frozen songs because
interesting.
we knew that style seemed to really resonate with kids. It's interesting because you think of kind of younger songs, just, very bouncy and whatnot, but a lot of young kids nowadays listen to more pop kind of styles. And, once kids start singing along to those things, you think, gosh, you wouldn't expect that they'd be able to sing along with some of those things. But they do. They learn all the words. They love to dance to it and dress up to it. So we just decided to try to just skew a little bit more that way this time. And that was actually really fun to do too, because over all these years, there has been a change. So we tried to do that.
Sometimes it's been a mystery to me that you don't sing on all your tracks. Like that would be like, I would think a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, it's not about me. It's definitely not about me. I mean, it's about the show. It's about the characters. If there are ones that I feel like my voice would lend something to, then I'm all for it. It's fun to do for me, but I really enjoy involving other people. I was a worship leader for 20 years, and as a worship leader, I felt the same way. I just love getting other people involved. And so that's part of the joy of it for me, is involving all the characters. And I think it is for the audience too. I mean, they've just finished hearing all these characters, in the stories.
Yeah.
And now to get to hear them break out in song and actually sing the lesson that they have just learned. I don't know, I think that's kind of a fun way to go and a special way to go, and something that kids would relate to, and parents too, hopefully. But yeah, I think it kind of really helps bring the message home even that much more, that these kids are like, yeah, we just learned this lesson and now we're singing about it, So.
Well, I've had to direct him, and you've had to direct Ned. How rough was that?
You mean how wonderful of an experience it is to work with a true artist? I think is what you meant to say.
I think that's
exactly what you meant
That's
to
what
say.
I
Okay,
meant.
thanks.
That's what I
fine.
meant to say.
No, you can be honest. How was it working with
How
me?
wonderful was
How
it?
wonderful of an experience was it working with me?
Working with a beaver can sometimes be a challenge. They've got the buck teeth and everything, so that makes it kind of hard. No, but Ned is very talented. The most talented beaver singer that I have ever worked with. And just charming personality, too. So you can't go wrong.
No, I have the privilege of doing Ned on a couple of different tracks with Sandy, and it's really exacting because you're such a great musician, and it's like but I mean, it's like, oh, Eric, okay, on the beat, okay, no, off the beat, let's try this a different way. But we were struggling to even find like a key, because when I do my Ned voice, I'm up in my falsetto kind of like
Different
head voice, or a
range.
different range,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but I'm really high. Why can't I sing this as high as And so we even had to struggle to find the right key to make that work.
Yes, and with Goose also, because of her voice being so different when she sings, as opposed to when she sings as herself, we have to, or me singing the song, we have to sort of range it up to get it where you guys can be your character in that voice, in that song. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But no, Eric, you do great. You are so talented, and it's really, really fun working with you. I love it every time.
I enjoy it too.
And by the way, Eric has done other characters as
Yes,
well.
not just Ned.
Not just Ned. And singing-wise, you've done a number of songs.
Yeah, we did What Kind of Boy.
Theron.
Well, the What Kind of Boy song, you did that. And you've also sung just as a sort of a teaching voice, not not yourself or not
Yeah.
a character, just a person singing. And
Well, for me, like Dave said, it's a little bit like when we would get the Sandy songs in, it would be a little bit like Christmas. We've described it like Christmas. We don't know what the package has, and we pop the tape in and we take a listen to it because we know what the episode is. We've been marinating in the episode for weeks and weeks and weeks. We recorded it. Now we're producing it. We're getting it and sending him, does this sound right to you? No, change this. And then we get the lesson song, the thing that kind of puts the button on all of it. And we pop it in and we're listening to it. And it's like Spell Out His Love or whatever. Oh, this is so phenomenal. This is so clever. Oh, this is really interesting. And it's so exciting. It's like, oh, this is for real. This is a real thing. This is a collaborative effort between a whole bunch of people that God put together. And wow, if this 28 minutes didn't do it for you, listen to this 3.5, and it's gonna seal the deal
And get everything.
Get everything
you got out of the 28 minutes.
If you don't have 28 minutes to listen, just listen to the 3.5. You'll be fine. But I mean, there's an emotional carry through. It's like a full meal. Like nothing is lacking, right? There's humor, there's great drama and interest and warmth and biblical truth, and then you get something that you can take away and sing all week long.
well, I just have to say that, again, I feel like God really did put the team together. I mean, that we have similar sensibilities and that the things that I'm writing are resonating with the show and with you specifically as the creator. Again, that's just a huge blessing. I just feel like that's the Lord just brought the people together for this particular project so that because I draw a lot from what your script is, right? I read the script and it's the same. I have that feeling. This is exciting when I get the script. So I get to read it and see what's going to happen and how everything turns out. And then the other thing is I have to give shout outs to my co-writers and co-producers, Nick Brown in particular, Mark Edward Lewis. These people are incredibly talented people as well. And we work together, collaborate together, and have done so for many, many years. Yeah. And it's just, one of our joys that we get to work on a Paws Tales song together.
It's kind of neat to have somebody that is able to write like you at the level that you do, that it be devoted to something that is ministry focused, because it's not like we're giving kids something that is just, oh, that's cute, that's adorable, that's nice, and poor mom has to listen to that over and over and over again. What you're able to do is something that is worth mom's time and worth the kid's investment to learn these biblical truths. It's high quality. It's really, really excellent stuff. I don't have to be embarrassed to put it on in the radio and have my kid, or put it on the stereo and have my kids listen to it.
Well, I'll say honestly, that is also one of the ways that it is more challenging. So when I'm writing for something else that doesn't have to have this, big theological message, but when it comes to writing these kind of songs, it's like I'm very, very focused on being really intentional about how to communicate this message and not stray from it. Make sure that all the biblical points in every line are accurate, which I also send the lyrics to your team and also make sure you check my work and make sure I haven't missed anything because I really, really want to make sure that it's accurate. And so that does make it a little bit more challenging. You're trying to make it fun, but also communicate something of depth. And so sometimes Nick and I are just like, this is a big concept. How are we going to wrap our brains around this and still make it fun for kids, Well,
she would often call me and say, so when will this script be finished?
Oh,
that's the good one. That's all I got.
To be honest, there are a few that the subject matter is pretty intense. I mean, they're real. These are real life stories and things that do happen to kids. But sometimes, they're heavy subject matter. So I think those are probably the ones that take the longest to try to figure out how to gently present those things. So those can take, I don't know. They take a while.
So
but
the length of a song, you could take as many as a month or
a month,
or...
sometimes a couple months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're working on other things at the same time. So it's not just constantly. But yeah, and I like kind of to work that way a little bit because I find that my brain works better sort of in the background.
I was just going to ask, are you that kind of like you're eating your cereal in the morning and you go, I got to run to the piano?
Yep.
Okay.
Driving in the car, washing dishes. I've gotten some of my best ideas. Washing dishes or something like that. But the shortest, sometimes it's funny, like this is one of the reasons I love having a co-writer, because one of the shortest was one of the choruses that we just did recently. And I don't know, I was making my bed and I just sang this chorus. Actually, there were 2 songs I remember I was making my bed. I gotta make my bed more
I don't
often.
have any breakthroughs when I make
But do you
make
make
my
your bed?
bed
Well,
more
that's the
often.
problem. See, if I made my bed more
I'm gonna
often,
start.
I don't
maybe
do that
I
as
should.
much as I should.
Yeah, okay.
Kids, make your bed
I
more.
need to make my bed more. But yeah, there were 2. Treasures in Heaven.
Yeah.
I specifically remember.
Store up the treasures in heaven. See, sometimes in an interview you can't sing the song because it's a copyright infringement, but we have you right
it's
here.
our song.
It's fine. We can do it.
We could do it. But yeah, that was one. And I was really, I don't know, it was just like, kind of like, I kind of sang most of it all at the same time. And that happened also with the chorus of Best News Ever. And I thought, is this just too simplified? Like, is it too simple? I just wasn't really sure. And I called up Nick and he just was like, no, we have to do that. He goes, it's simple, but it just encapsulates the idea, and I didn't even recognize it. So I think sometimes you just kind of let the ideas flow.
Collaborate.
And collaborate.
is the best.
You're grabbing
It
your
really
phone,
is.
you run to your piano. How does it work? All the time they're like,
I have my phone. I have a little app on my phone. You don't
so if
want
I pull up next to you in the light and you're going la la la
Yes,
la la la,
all the time.
you're that person.
In a goose voice.
Okay.
I'm that person, yes. Constantly. Sometimes they're real funny because I'll be half asleep in bed and my brain's still going. And I'll just reach over and in the morning I can't even tell what it is sometimes.
Well, you've written now 70, 73 songs for Paws Tales. Do you have a favorite among this? I mean, I'm setting you up. I know.
one of your children?
Which one of your children is your favorite? Did you have a favorite among them? We've talked about Esther a little bit. I'm wondering if
Esther is definitely, those 6 songs are definitely near and dear to my heart. But outside of that, it's funny. The very first song that I wrote, The Solid Rock, for whatever reason, it was on the first CD that we put out. And there's just something special. I mean, I feel like
song.
kids really remember that one. Yeah. So if ever anybody's talking about Paws and Tails and I ask them about a song, they usually, hammer, hammer, knock, knock, knock. They can remember
it's
it.
It's easy to dance to. It's a 10.
So that one I would say is just special because it was the first chance I had to write something. I wrote by myself, which was kind of interesting. I didn't even remember that I had done that one by myself, but I guess I did when I went back to look. And I was like, thank you, Lord, because, I don't always do that. And that was just a special moment for me. So, yeah.
So while we're talking about the deeper theological stuff, the Scottish scat
Oh,
singer.
back to the Scottish scat, yes. So the character was singing in a Scottish accent. I'm trying to
There was
remember.
a character in the episode.
There was a character in the
It was
episode.
like an aside character.
Yeah.
It was a bit play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he just would talking. It was probably Larry. Brantley was probably the voice, and he doing his
Scottish
thing.
accent.
And I don't know if the script said that.
That he was Scottish?
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow we picked up
Somehow
on a
it
Scottish
co- it-
accent. Yeah. So this amazing singer that I've worked with a lot, Randy Crenshaw, shout out again, super talented guy. He sang on a bunch of different episodes, but he came in and I said, Randy, I need you to sing this song with a Scottish accent. So he did that and it was fantastic. And then we had this little instrumental section. And I said, what should we put in the instrumental section? So I said, Randy, I go, why don't you try a whistling solo? And so he did the most amazing whistle solo like you've ever heard. I mean, it was like serious whistling and great notes, perfect solo. And it was done and I was like, wow, that was fantastic. But I don't know if that's quite what I wanted. I said, how about mouth trombone? This kind of thing. And so he did the most amazing mouth trombone solo. It was incredible. It was so good. And I was like, Randy, that was awesome. And I said, but I just feel like there's something else.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I want to work for you.
No, you
That
don't.
was my best thing.
You don't want it. You don't want to work it. But I know Randy, right? So I know this guy he goes deep. He can do anything. He's amazing. So it just, I don't know why. I didn't even know what it was. I said, I don't know what this is, but what about a Scottish scat?
That's where I would have gone.
Well, naturally. Yes.
And if you don't know what scatting is, it's when you, you sort of use syllables and just little, nonsense syllables to make a solo out of it. And so he was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And we rolled, and he just nailed it.
So
a Scottish scat. It is hilarious.
So
Do it for us, Dave. Okay, no, okay. All right. Well, we'll have to.
I used up all of my
We'll have to
musical-
refer them to the episode.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to have to put that in the notes because I can't think of the title of the song right now.
Yeah, I was doing that too. Well, it'll be down.
I think it's What's on the
down below.
Inside. It's What's on the Inside that counts.
That's what he said. Was that the title?
I
of the
think
show?
that's the name of the song.
okay.
What's on the Inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. So
It's not the money in your pocket, but the change in your heart.
see, that's Sandy.
Oh, see, that's
Sandy right there. Yeah.
That's catchy. I have a greeting card I need you to write for me, please, because I've been
A musical
struggling.
greeting
Yeah.
card. So there's no limit to the funds available to us.
Okay. I love where you're going with that. 'Cause
Yeah. Really?
What a great premise.
We can do anything we want
Yeah.
with Paws and Tales.
Yeah.
What would it be? I'm going with more snacks.
Well, I want there to be more
I have an
episodes, more stories.
Definitely more episodes.
But there's because of the music. I just see a musical.
That's
That's what
what I was gonna say, too.
And something that you could take to churches and cities and stuff like that. That would be
I'd love
so
to have
much
Paws
fun.
and Tales the musical.
Yeah.
Now, if the listeners if they've listened to the story of Esther, if they've gone into the Shadow Valley episodes, you go into a different mode. You go into musical theater.
I love musical theater.
And I've had people say, this is Disney.
This is good. Yeah.
This is because the story is, and we'd probably collaborate more on those because
Yes.
they forward the story. They're not just reteaching something. You're pushing a character forward, and it's a different magical thing.
Yeah.
And it's so fun when we can do that.
Yeah, I love musical theater. I love those kind of songs. They're not all the lesson song. They are just what you just said. They're just the songs that get the character from point A to point B. And yeah, it's really fun to write that way.
You mentioned Esther, and I think that was one of the most poignant songs I think that you've ever written for Paws and Tales. Just on where Esther is, this terrible decision that she's faced with, it, knowing that her life is on the line, but she has to do for such a time as this, that God has called her to do this thing to, protect her people. And I just, so beautiful, heartrending. Beautiful. The way it was recorded and performed was phenomenal. And yeah, you just see musical theater all over. I saw this on stage. Often when I'm building sound design, I'm thinking for stage. I'm thinking that's how I'm building the sound is I want to create that view in your mind cinematically. I want you to see the scene as I see it in my head. And you did just the same thing with your music. It was
It's interesting because I have talked to some kids that have heard the Esther series, and one kid actually came up to me and they were like, I can see it. They actually said, a child actually said that to me, I can see it. And there was nothing to see, but with your sound design and the story and the characters and with the music all together, that's how it's been. So it would be fun to actually have us see it.
Yeah. All right,
as
right
well.
back on you. Money is no object. What would you
Yeah.
like to see?
Clearly, more episodes. There's more story to tell. There's branch off storylines that we could explore. But yeah, I would love to do bigger Bible stories. I would like to. We did King Saul.
Yeah.
We did David. There's fun to be had and work to be done, and y'all are just sitting around playing Halo all day. Or something. I don't know, whatever it is you do. But
We need to be busy.
I would love to do Bible stories.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and think about it, they're timeless. we're going to be telling Bible stories, Lord willing, until the Lord returns, right? We want to rehearse the truths of what God has done. And so that would be a great thing. You know,
I mean, to be honest, I mean, you and I have talked about this, but it's literally on my bucket list to try to get those Esther songs, even if it's just the Esther part of it. Maybe that's a spin-off kind of a thing. You know, it's part of Paws and Tales. Paws and Tales got us to it, but we could take the Esther story, lift it out, and expand it into a full-length musical.
Yeah.
That, to me, would also be something fun and interesting and exciting.
I remember our first record session. You came to the, and of course, states and states apart now, we don't do this, but
Right.
we were all nearby in California.
Yeah.
And you came to the record session. The first, we were doing 2 at a time.
Yeah.
On one day, and I remember we're done, we're in the parking lot, and we're talking about Esther on the
Was
first
it really?
record session.
Man, I don't
I
remember that
wanted to
conversation.
do
but-
Esther
wow.
so badly because it reads like a screenplay.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you got your bad guy, and he's not just middle of the road bad. He's beyond wicked. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gigantic story. And so when we were able to do that, and I don't know if you know this, but I wrote it for 3 parts. We were well into the 2, and we had no budget left.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We were out of, like, we can't do this.
I didn't know that.
And I talked to one of the VPs at Insight for Living, and he says, "Come with me." I'm like, "We're going to rob a bank? What do we?" He walked me into Cynthia Swindoll's office, and he said, "Well, Dave wants to finish the story of Esther, and we're out of money, and we don't know what we're going to do." She wrote a check,
Wow. Oh.
a personal check.
Oh, wow.
She
I'm
financed
going to cry.
the 3rd episode of Esther.
I think it's amazing that it's not just, it's the generosity of Chuck and Cynthia Swindoll who wrote a personal check, and it's other people who've donated the ministry. And just these last 5 episodes that we were able to do, it's the generosity of people maybe watching this who said, you know what, we believe in the ministry of Paws and Tales, and we want there to be more stories. I'm just so grateful for that.
Well, and to be fair, I'm not sure Chuck knows that Cynthia wrote that check. So I don't want to get anybody.
Wow, when he finds out, oh no.
Yikes.
But you did tell me there was a special donor that kind of
Yeah.
sort of instigated this
triggered
whole...
these last
Yeah.
5 episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we went with it, and Cynthia's like, "Yes, go."
That's amazing.
And so that's what forwards this ministry.
Right.
And we're ready to work.
So if anybody's watching this
Yes.
that has $1 million and they don't mind,
Kabillion.
a $1 billion, what Ned says is $1 billion, just write that big check, send it in.
It has to be longer.
Yeah, it's a
all the-
really
for all
big
the-
check.
for all
yeah.
those numbers.
All those zeros.
But seriously, I mean, all those people that do write in, we've gotten videos. I've seen people do these songs with kids choirs in their churches.
Oh, yeah.
And then they send me videos. There's just nothing better than to see kids actually coming together, learning these lessons, singing these songs. And then, there was that one video you sent me. It was a father and a son talking about how
Yes, in the car.
had been, in the car. They'd been listening to the episodes for so many years and just talking about how these stories affected them. And Dave, this is, your creation, God gave you this, and it's just incredible to see how far it's gone. I'm just blessed to be a part of it.